I'm a citizen, and I would like to chip in on the 10-pointer of public participation. As John has stated on the chart that we still have a big problem in public participation. It's a big concern. We understand under the County Government Act that there's a platform or there's a tool that can be used to engage the community or the public in such decision makings. This tool or this platform is called the town hall, and where we stand, we are really trying to push to see that this platform, known as the town hall, is implemented in every county and in every ward, so that we can be able to collect views from the people. And when we say the people, we mean from the lower level of the devolution, which is a ward. We believe that everyone during the general election, everyone went to the majority of the people went to the ballot to put their vote. And we believe that each vote has a voice. Our question is, how can we be in a place to see that these voices are heard? Each particular voice, each vote that was casted that has a voice is heard. That Mama Mboga, that Kinyozi man, that saloonist, how can we bring them to the table and get their views on a particular issues concerning I'm getting interruptions. Concerning the little views that they have in their wards, because you can't tell me someone from Machakos in a remote ward can go to the county government and say that I want this or I want that. The only place that their views can be taken is from their wards, and I think we need to check on this platform known as the town hall. And as we saw during the campaigns, our politicians, our leaders use this platform to engage the people. Then the question is, why can't we proceed with this platform in this next 5 years so that we can get the views from the people? That is my take on point 10, and I think I was clear enough. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lego. We really appreciate. I have a question here to Mr. John. Allow me to use this as a case study for Kameribe Ward from Kilifi County. For the last 10 years, in Kameribe Ward, we have been leading with the stall projects. These were projects which were allocated enough amount of money, but they're not completed for 2 terms of the previous regime. So my question is it possible for these stall projects to be included in the CIDP? 1. 2, these projects were allocated enough money previously, but they're not yet completed. Where or how best can we do social accountability? Or just to frame it, is there a way we can access budget expenditure documents to access and to know why are these projects not yet completed and they were allocated enough of money? And if we look at the county document, it indicates that 10 million, it has been allocated for social hall construction, but at the ground level, the project is still stalled. So can they be included on the CIDP? 1, and how best can we access these budget expenses documents? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions. The questions are very important, and it is a good angle. We can look at, you see, according to our constitution, the power belongs to the people. It is only the people who can suggest if those projects can be included, only the people. Secondly, as I said, this platform known as the town hall, it is a good platform to use for accountability, not only for leader accountability, also for individual accountability. In the next 5 years, we are going to have another general election, and we, the voters, will come out and start insinuating that a leader didn't do this, a leader didn't do that. The question in the next 5 years will go to individuals or to the voters. What did you do as an individual? What part did you play as an individual to see that you're complaining was done? So we want to see that this platform has taken place in words, especially in words, because we say that we are thinking like, if a ward has a social hall, then why not have a town hall in that social hall? Why not bring people together in that social hall for them to discuss issues regarding issues that concern them, that affects them? Because you'll find a ward in Ganze has a different issue with a ward in Mombasa or in Taita Taveta. This is the only platform where you get to understand people's need. So it is very important. Those questions are very important, and we need to put up a platform. For instance, you said in Kilifi that the CIPD, the CIDP process is in the stakeholders level, and you went ahead and asked people if they were aware of it. Most of them, they were not aware of it. It is very important for us to put this accountability on an individual matter or perspective, so that each one of us understands that we are supposed to be there for our country. We are supposed to be there for our counties. There's someone who brought this issue and said, sorry to put this, that if people can find time to go to church on Sundays, why can they find a day, in a day, an hour or two to be there for their country? So I think this platform is going to sort out those issues, and we are looking for partners to help us see that this platform has come into play. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Lego. I can see two questions from John Ocheng and to Kennedy Okoko. Sorry, to Kennedy Akoko. Before I give opportunity to John and Kennedy, maybe Mr. John Kinuvia, do you have anything to share from these questions, concerns?
Come up again.
So I think it's quick ones. So first of all, public participation, and I really appreciate the points that Ochieng has also made. Public participation is an art and a science. It's a science in the fact that it has to be done as required by the law. So that's where most of the time we speak about government has to do it to tick boxes. But it's the art side of it, which is on the how it's done, that is really, really important. Now, the populations that county governments are trying to engage with are not homogeneous. We all don't work in the same places. We don't live in the same places. We don't access information in the same ways. And we don't interact with government in the same way. So the art here is that the government has to think very creatively on how to engage with citizens. And even we as citizens have to think very creatively on how we want to engage with the government. And there are a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one is the thinking about who is involved and who decides who is involved. We have to pay attention to that. So it's not just a question of whether a notice was put in the newspapers or it was in the community radios. It has to be clear. Are we involved at the village level? Are we involved at the ward level? Are we involved at, and who are going there? If it's a representative model, where is representatives of youth groups that will attend, and representatives of women, and representative of unions and businesses, then it needs to be clear, and it needs to be something that is agreed within the county that that's the best approach. So that is to say, in our counties, we should not just leave it to make to a public participation. No, we have to actually also push the counties on how did we arrive at the fact that town halls are the right thing to do. Because if you look at the County Governments Act, it has very many varieties of options that counties can use, whether it's to spread information or whether it's to engage with the public. So the counties have, and I absolutely agree with the Lego, the counties already have something in law that they can use. And I think it's for us as a county to say what works in Nairobi might not be the same as what works in the next county. So what works for us in Kilifi, what works for us in Busia? And it's something that we have to continuously engage with so that we are constantly trying to improve how we engage. Number two, who facilitates these public participation meetings? Now, if somebody from the Department of Health has been sent to come and facilitate a discussion on agriculture, you are in trouble, because that person will not be able to answer your questions. They don't know what you are talking about, but they are there because they are government officials. So you have to literally make the county know that we need you to send the right people to facilitate this conversation. They should be able to answer our questions. They should be able to push us back when we say things that are not true, right? So we don't go there and say, 1,000 women died in hospitals last year from childbirth. Somebody from the Department of Health will tell you, no, it was actually not 1,000, right? So you want to have a facilitator that knows what they are doing. So things like those, how the information is packaged and shared. Ochieng spoke about this in his comment. So what is shared with us? Is it the bulky document? Is it something that is simplified, a citizen version of the full document? What works for us? And this is some of the places where NGOs play a very critical role if you look around the world. There are some countries like in the Philippines where those citizen documents are prepared by CSOs together with their governments, right? So it's a place where we can bring a lot of good practice and the likes. But the most important one is the fact that the feedback loop of any public participation has to be completed. This is where apathy plays out. If you don't tell citizens what you're doing with their input, that conversation then starts just being one of ticking boxes. And then you start hearing what we hear a lot in the counties, where people say, honestly, where are we going there? They don't listen to us. So we have to push county governments to give us feedback and say, of all the things you said to us, here is how we utilize those things. So I think there's a lot we can do around the art side of public participation. And a lot of that good practice is with those of us in this call, right? A lot of us know what needs to be done right. And then a very quick answer on the stalled projects, the answer is yes. The CIDP should actually look at reviving stalled projects, completing ongoing projects, and then of course, starting new projects. The question on whether in scenarios where resources were allocated, but somehow the projects did not end, well, you've heard a lot about pending bills. You've heard a lot about underperformance in revenue collection. Part of what explains those stalled projects is because they were based on money that was not coming. So they were done to a certain level, but we didn't get all the money we thought we would get. So things actually get stalled to that. But there are many other reasons why things get stalled, even when in the budget they've been allocated resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. John Kimedia, for sharing those few issues and answering our question. So I think we are remaining with two people who would like to ask question. Oh, we have Mr. John Ochieng. Mr. John Ochieng, you can take over. Then Kennedy Akoko and Zakaria, you can take over next. Mr. John, you can unmute yourself and engage.
Thanks, Arun. Let me also join hands with other participants to thank you and John Kinuthia for planning and executing this. Mine three very brief points of additions and just one question to John. The first one is regarding public participation, and I agree with what both the two Johns have said in regards to the gaps we are seeing about public participation across the counties. One big thing that is missing for me is for citizens to participate actively, they need to be empowered with information. I have an experience where citizens view all these public participation forums by county governments as the same. The county comes with CIDP, then comes again with the annual development plan, the county fiscal strategy paper, and even the budget. For them, all these things are the same. So they don't know whether they are supposed to be giving priorities for the next year. They don't know whether this is now the annual budget has started, and therefore they are prioritizing programs for that financial year. They don't know whether they are making contribution in terms of the sector ceilings. So all these things are the same for wananchi, and I think they need, first of all, to be empowered through serious civic education for them to engage meaningfully within the public participation forum, so that they don't see it as just forums where they go and take allowances and go back home. On stalled projects, I want to agree with John that counties should really consider incorporating stalled projects into the new CIDP, so that taxpayers' money doesn't go into waste. But again, they should be careful to ensure that these stalled projects are within their mandate. We had an example in 2017 when in Bomet, when the late Laboso, may she rest in peace, was taking over from the then governor Ruto Isaac, and Laboso realized that there was a lot of money spent by the county government in building primary school infrastructure, and we know very well that primary education is not within the county government's mandate. So even if they consider installed or ongoing projects, they need to ensure that it's within their mandate, so that they're not like operating or committing funds outside the law. The last one was on considerations to be made when developing the CIDP. So I totally agree with John. One thing I wanted to add is the spatial plans. Spatial plans are very key when the counties are developing their mega plans, so that they don't end up, committing resources to infrastructural projects that are close to each other. We've seen counties where dispensaries, because of they're considering ward development and not looking at the bigger spatial plan, the space within the county and how projects are distributed, you find very projects that like dispensaries that are so close to one another. And probably what the county should have done was to equip one so that residents within probably 2 wards can be able to access one facility that is well equipped. Yeah, so such things, or you find a school building, or you find a county building, an ECD center, yet if you cross the ward boundary, there's another ECD. So spatial plans are very key as part of considerations to be made. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Join. Allow me to give opportunity to Kennedy Akoko, then Zacharias can take over. Kennedy? Kennedy, you can unmute yourself and proceed. As you're waiting for Kennedy, Zacharias Maganga, you can take over and proceed. Zacharias? Okay, maybe let me give it back to Mr. John, if maybe you have anything else to share from what our colleague Mr. John have just talked.
Thanks, and I absolutely associate myself with those comments. I think the understanding of public participation, especially in budgeting process as extensive as ours, I think we've not done a very good job at helping the public to understand that every decision that is being made along that budget cycle is unique but interconnected. And that's why I was speaking about the value of having a facilitator who, from government, because it's government officials who facilitate this meeting, somebody who knows what they are doing. And by one of the things they have to know what they are doing is to tell citizens what decision is being made. And that's the reason why we've come to you. So if it's during the annual development plan, the county has to be very clear at what decision is being made then, so that we are asking citizens to engage with the right content and the right conversation within the right context, right? And it's the same as you move along the whole process. So if we don't clearly communicate what is it that citizens are supposed to be contributing to, then citizens feel that every time you come to them, you are coming to ask them what they want. That's not how public participation is supposed to look like in our current dispensation, because you're telling the county executive what you want, but when it goes to the assembly is not supposed to be asking us what we want. If we are engaging with the public participation process when we are approving the budget, what the county assembly will be asking us is, of the things that you asked the executive to put in the proposal, when you look at this budget that has been presented to us, are you comfortable with it? Is there something missing that you had asked for that we as your representative then should make sure is in the budget? Because the county assemblies now have powers to actually approve budgets with or without amendments, right? So you have to keep explaining to citizens how different decisions affect what they are engaging with. But I think we've not really done that. Often what happens is either it will be ward admins or sub-county admins who will turn up, or individuals from the departments, and they will say, okay, we are here for a discussion on the ADP. What is it that you want to say? Or the flip side of it is what happens. They come and they give a speech for 2 hours, then they ask you whether you have questions. That's not how public participation is supposed to work. Public participation is supposed to be a deliberation where we are actually discussing things, making decisions, seeing what trade-offs we need to make, and then leaving that room when we feel like we participated in a decision-making process. And not one of those where they come collect things and then they say, oh, we will sit down. You very even never know where they sit down. We will sit down and then we will see what we can do. That is not the way public participation is supposed to work if it's to be meaningful. So I absolutely agree that, making sure citizens have the right access to information for the right decision, explaining to them what the decision is part and parcel of making sure that public participation works well. And always having the bigger picture about what is it that we want to do, and then what are the right investments to do and where, I think is something that we don't do a lot in Kenya. We have this belief of, if you have a dispensary in your village, we also need one. If you have a road, road is not the best example. Everyone needs a road. If you have a cattle dip in your village, we also need one. And our villages are 1 kilometer apart. So the net effect is that right now, some counties like Kitui have an excess number of dispensaries. So they have built so many dispensaries in the last 10 years. Those dispensaries are a stretch to the county because you can't equip all of them. You can't put staff in all of them. But every village, every MCA wanted a dispensary in their village, in their ward and in the villages within their ward. So I agree with that big picture aspect when we are looking at CIDPs, so that we are asking the right question about what is needed where, rather than everyone should get, because everyone should get sometimes leads to those scenarios where we are getting into stalled projects, money is spread too thin because everyone wants a little piece, and that is supposed to be the exact problem that the CIDP cures.
Sure, thank you so much, Mr. John. So as you wind up, I think there's one person remains, Zakas. Zakas Maganga, do you have anything to add? I can see we have remained with very few minutes. Zakas, do you have anything to add, Maganga? Zakas,
can you hear me?
Yes, proceed.
Yes, thank you, Haroon, and thank you so much, John, for that elaborate presentation on our role and how best we could participate in the CIDP. The other quick one is there is need to recognize that the PFM Act, Section 137, talks of the establishment of the County Budget Economic Forum. And this is the gap between the county government and the citizens, because we have the county government and the non-state actors sitting together in doing consultation to ensure that in preparation of all the county plans and the county fiscal strategy paper and all other documents, there is a lot of consultations with the citizens of the county. So in many of our counties today, most of what we have seen is that there is no emphasis on operationalization of the CBEF. And I believe if this can be emphasized by all ends and let the county government understand that we need this forum, so that then, since it is provided under the Act, it needs to exist and it needs to carry out its functions. The other thing I've seen in our county, that is Taita Taveta, is since the inception of county government or devolution, there's never been sectorial plans, not to mention the spatial plan. So that means that many of, even the CIDP 1 and CIDP 2, you'll wonder what did inform it. So I think it's high time that we push as citizens that these things be in place so that we get it right going forward in this third CIDP. The other point is, I saw in this new guideline by the National Treasury that there is need now to also factor in national projects that are being undertaken in the counties. I think this is a plus for the National Treasury, because it will help us, even as citizens, understand which project is going to be co-funded between the national government and the county government, or which project, again, also is being implemented in the county government and is entirely being funded by the national government. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. To finalize the last person, Kennedy, you have 4 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I wanted to say thank you to John for the good presentation and for being very specific about it. As much as we want to promote a proper system in our county government, we need to realize that the people we are dealing with, they are always scheming to have enough power to manipulate. So we can do our participation, but then the decision is usually left to the people that we submit the content of our participation to. So the biggest thing is I can do the best participation, do my research, but when I submit my proposal to the relevant people, it is still them to make the decision. I actually wanted it to forward it to John, but I think he has already touched something on it, that we have to keep pushing, we have to keep mobilizing, we have to be many people so that we can push for true change. But I think most of the people we put into leadership, actually, they don't know, and they need to be properly engaged in the process of the governing of the county, because they end up doing things for the sake of it, but without no clear plan. I'm really grateful for this platform, and I wish that it would actually get to the leaders, because sometimes when I went to some participation, I was left with the floor to talk. The people I was talking with, they didn't even know what the CIDP is and all those things. You look at counties that have missed out in the devolution, like Samburu, Maralal is one of those towns that is supposed to be so beautiful, yet very underdeveloped. So this can just tell you that the leaders that we put into place, they are always scheming to get something more, even the money that is supposed to develop. That is why it's good to, we have a lot of stalled projects, because every county, every new leader wants to eat from the same. They put up tenders and all those things just to benefit themselves. So what our leaders don't actually meet the chapter 6 of our constitution of integrity. Our process of bringing in new leaders ought to be challenged, because this system of these 10 points only work with sane government. The kind of governments that we have are insane. They are crazy people. They just want to enrich themselves. So I think those are the realities that we need to confront, so much so that we need to know how to challenge the leaders who don't meet the integrity of to lead any county or the national office. So thank you very much, and I'm so happy for this, and I hope it happens more and more, especially to our leaders and to the electorate. Asanteni sana. for the good work.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kennedy. And thank you everyone for joining our today's session. Because of time, I would like to end this session in the next 5 minutes. But before we do that, I will request if we can do a quick checkout. This quick checkout, I'm requesting if you can share one key takeaway from this session. Just use a chat box and share with us one key takeaway. What was your main lesson, a key takeaway? Or what have you learned from this session? And how will you use this knowledge? Please use the chat box for this purpose. Let's use a maximum of 5 minutes for this. What's your key takeaway? What have you learned? How will you use this knowledge for your advocacy or for your engagement at your county or local level? Let's use a chat box. Also, just to inform you that I'm organizing these weekly conversation every Thursday or Friday on the evening. So I will be communicating with you within this week or by next week Tuesday concerning our next session. So be prepared. All our sessions are focusing within 2022 Kenya general election, before, during, and after election. So far, this is our third session, and I'm conducting this purely on a volunteerism base. So in case you have any suggestion concerning the topic you'll need us to focus on, feel free to get in touch with me, and I will help out to get expert speaker to do this session. So maybe Mr. John, if you have a parting shot to conclude this session, feel free as we are finalizing the session. Back to you, Mr. John.
Thanks. The people in the office here are laughing. But I think the main feedback, first of all, is to say this was very well organized. And just to say thanks for having us. I think for me as a takeaway of the discussions today, because as I say, this was also learning from the experiences of all of us in the call, is that number one, CIDPs are as good as citizens get to own them. And a central part of that is making sure that people feel they reflect their most pressing needs, that they reflect the idea of what people think their county should develop or in what the process of how their counties should develop. And I think that is a very central piece to then making sure that CIDPs are not just another collection of projects that then people fight over tenders and then we repeat the cycle again and again. So I think that is really important, and Kennedy has spoken a bit to it. Kennedy, it's nice to see you. Kennedy and I come from far. But I think also the suggestion that has been made by Ochieng, I think it's really important on the fact that we still need probably to have conversations around our own thinking around public participation and how we can improve public participation. It's good always to remember that some of us are very privileged because we know when these public participation engagements are happening, we get to go there. The question is, how do we utilize those spaces? And I think learning from each other about how we can make different suggestions that can improve things is a big plus. And we've seen that work. In a county like Baringo, we've seen the county executive say, we would like our ward admins to be trained on how to do public participation effectively, and we want that to be done by a CSO. And that has been repeated one more time in Busia, right? So it's something, I find counties to be a bit more open than the national government when you speak about some of these topics. But anytime we find ourselves in the room, what is that one thing that we can push that day that can make the process better? The final one, please make sure you engage with your CIDPs. Even if you feel that they've not necessarily turned out as you would want in previous cycles, I think we can only improve them if we are there. Because remember, for government officials, the basic minimum is good enough. But for us, that's not good enough. We want to see them do things much better. So the only way that will happen is for us to keep turning up, to keep pushing for things to get better, to keep pushing for the processes to become more open, more inclusive, and more equitable. And I think the more we repeat that language, the more we come with ideas that even we can tell government, why don't you try this, don't you try that, the more things will get better. And I think the experience of all of us in this room, someone like Rose has been in this space way longer than even myself. They will tell you that these things do change. They might be slow, but they do change. So thank you very much, Aaron, for having me and for having the whole crew from IBP. And we are very grateful for this conversation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. And thank you for being part of this conversation. I'll be sharing these tools and recording part of it via your emails. So ensure that I get your email. Also allow me to, for those who don't have my email, let me post for you. Yeah, if you don't have my email, you can use that email. Then I will share all the documents, all the tools, and the next sessions, which we are on the final process of planning. Meanwhile, thank you so much for joining this session. Thank you so much for being with us. And we were planning this session to be 1 hour, but I can see we have spent around 1.5 hours. So apologies for that, but I hope that it was an awesome and the best session, and you have gained some best tools on how to engage yourself within the CIDP process. We'll be communicating concerning what next. As I've told you, is that every week I'm planning this kind of conversation. Every Thursday or Friday, we'll be having this series of conversation on the way forward. And our conversation might focus more concerning what role did women play on the just ended general election, and plus also the role of the religious leaders on all these development and election matter. In the last session, we'll be trying to focus more concerning cross-country engagement. So stay tuned, and thank you so much. Most welcome.